So we want to bring you a story now from Scottsdale, Arizona. Police announcing an investigation into allegations over human trafficking. My colleague, LiveNOW's Andy Mack, spoke with yet another Fox 10 Phoenix reporter about this. Let's listen.
Live and now from Fox, I am Andy Mack, of course, following all the top headlines of the day. And we're going to be joined now out of Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona, where a human trafficking suspect has been arrested. We're joined by Fox 10's Lindsay Regis. Thank you so much for joining us here. What are the newest details that officials are telling us here?
Yeah, that's right. We've been out here all day talking with neighbors. Some say they saw the heavy police presence the day after Christmas, and they're now just figuring out what happened.
I saw a bunch of police cars a couple weeks ago. I don't know if it had to do with the same thing. A couple rows of houses down, and they were there for several hours, and I had no idea what it was.
The day after Christmas, Scottsdale police arrested a man on 9 separate counts, including sex trafficking and aggravated assault.
You know, you never think that would be happening right next door. It'd be your neighbor or Airbnb or anything going on this close to you.
61-year-old Stephen Hurry is accused of trafficking his housekeeper, a woman in her 40s. A neighbor heard the female victim and suspect arguing at an Airbnb they were staying in and called 911.
It's concerning, but I'm glad to hear that our neighbors are on our side and we're all kind of working together.
Court documents revealed Hurry and the victim lived together since May of 2022 in California when she was hired to be his housekeeper. On May 25th, Hurry reportedly asked the female victim to come with him to Arizona to make money. They first lived in Tucson, where Hurry convinced the victim to let him take photos of her for an ad he was going to create to offer her to others for sex acts. The victim tells detectives that Hurry forced her to have sex with men for money, and the suspect would record the encounters. In November, they moved to a Scottsdale roadway inn where the trafficking continued. Then they moved in an Airbnb where police were called to. They had an argument, during which time Hurry grabbed her, pushed her against the refrigerator, and lifted her up to where she couldn't breathe. She had to perform a sex act to get him to stop. Hurry left the Airbnb before police arrived.
I mean, it makes you feel good that there was a neighbor here that overheard that and they did something about it. And because you never know how the outcome would have came, you know, how much worse it would have got, because it was already bad enough at the time. So, you know, it was pretty nice to hear that that person was saved.
Yeah, and Hurry's bond is set at $50,000 cash. Now, later tonight, we are going to speak with the Scottsdale Police Department to see if there are any updates. Back to you.
Thank you so much. And obviously, when people think of Phoenix, Arizona, Scottsdale is one of the nicer areas. How maybe surprised are people that think that this happened in that area particularly?
Yeah, a lot of these neighbors I spoke with say this is a quiet neighborhood. This isn't something that usually happens in this area. People I spoke with who live directly next to this Airbnb were shocked because they never heard anything in that area.
Definitely a very, very interesting story. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox as we continue to cover all the top headlines here on Live Now.
Okay, we thank there Lindsay Regis and Andy Mack. Let's hear now from Scottsdale Police. They talked about this in a very brief press conference. Let's watch.
Are you ready? Yes. You guys ready, Alexis? Yep. First and last name, you look at Alexis. Say and spell your first and last name.
Nicholas Alamshaw, Nicholas Alamshaw.
Perfect. Can you give me your title as well?
I'm a lieutenant with the Scottsdale Police Department.
And then do you work for like a specific branch in Scottsdale PD?
Currently, I'm a watch commander for the city.
Okay. And do you guys work, is it like a human trafficking unit?
So the Scottsdale Police Department has the Human Exploitation and Trafficking Unit, which started in March of 2021, and so that unit is dedicated to investigating human trafficking related crimes, internet crimes against children, and any other exploitation against a human being.
So can you walk me through just what you guys do as a unit in training, whether that's people within the city or even training, you know, community members on signs to spot signs of human trafficking?
So we take a multifaceted approach to this. We work with some non-governmental organizations that assist us in training, but we have trained all city staff, so the entire city of Scottsdale. We worked with a group called the Arizona Anti-Trafficking Network, and we got the city of Scottsdale to be CEASE certified, which means 75% of all city employees were trained in the indicators and signs of human trafficking. We've also worked with other restaurants and businesses to get them trained through the Safe Action Project. And then we work with local hotels, schools, anybody that's willing to have us or another organization come in, we will partner with them to make sure that they get the training that they need.
You know, you guys had a specific case in December that we are all kind of working on, learning a little bit more of. But specifically, I think what interests a lot of us is that a neighbor called police officers and you guys responded and were able to find, you know, a victim of human trafficking. How do you approach these situations, and what are kind of those indicators that you see where you're like, okay, this is a little bit more than just a domestic dispute?
So this goes back to the training that we just did with all our police officers. You know, we get calls all the time of family fights and different things that happen, and the reason we wanted to get our officers trained was so that when they go to calls, they have the ability to recognize the indicators and signs that something might be a little bit different in that circumstance than a regular family fight. So when we're looking at those, we're just looking at different things that are going on inside the house, how the victim may be interacting with the suspect. You know, human trafficking is a crime of control and manipulation. So there's a lot of different things that we look for when we're interacting with our victims to try to investigate the crime. So sometimes our victims won't have their identification with them. They won't have their passports. They don't have access to a cell phone. Things that exhibit control when they're taken away from them. Oftentimes we have victims that don't even really know their traffickers' names. They might know a nickname. So when we go to talk to them and say, hey, you know, who is this person to you? And they say, well, it's my boyfriend. Okay, what's your boyfriend's name? They know a nickname. They may not know his real name. So there's a lot of things that we can take and piece together and use that to help build our investigations and our cases in these trafficking-related crimes.
I think another question that gets brought up a lot is, why would somebody fall into a pattern like this if they don't really know that person? You know, what are some of the promises that somebody who's involved in trafficking will make to a potential victim? So, like I stated before, trafficking, human trafficking, sex trafficking, labor trafficking is based on false promises. The traffickers are master manipulators, and they go in and they sell a false promise to their victims. They go in and say, hey, I can make you a model, I can do all these different things for you. And once they get involved, then they start to realize that this isn't what they were offered in the first place. Other scenarios, the trafficker comes in and they meet their victims, they find vulnerable individuals on social media, other internet platforms, and they start to be their boyfriend. During those incidents, they may stay and pretend to be this victim's boyfriend for any given amount of time until they find the right moment, and then they kind of change the scenario on them. And at that point, a lot of times the victims are in a situation that makes it really hard for them to get out of or try to save themselves once they're there.
I think the last thing that
Okay, this official with the Scottsdale Police Department about what we just spoke to Fox 10 Phoenix reporter Lindsay Regas about, this arrest of this human sex trafficking suspect now in the custody of Scottsdale PD.